Welcome back to the Stocks Update, and thanks for tuning in once again. Today's episode is all about Lucid Motors, and we're diving deep into what investors and traders should be watching out for in the coming days. From macroeconomic data that could shake up the market to Lucid-specific events and stock behavior, we've got a lot to unpack. So let's get right into it and break down everything you need to know as we head into another potentially volatile week. To start off, it's important to note that the upcoming week is shaping up to be another wild ride for the markets, and Lucid could find itself caught in the crosscurrents. On Monday, we have the ISM Manufacturing Index report being released. This is a significant indicator of economic activity, and the current projection sits around 49.5. If the number surprises to the upside and crosses the 50 threshold, that suggests expansion in the manufacturing sector, a positive signal for the broader economy. But if the figure comes in below expectations, it might rattle investors and contribute to broader market turbulence. Throughout the week, a series of Federal Reserve officials are scheduled to speak. Depending on what they signal about inflation, interest rates, or economic outlook, their remarks could sway market sentiment considerably. On Tuesday, we'll be getting updates on job openings with a JOLTS report. Wednesday brings the ADP private payroll data and ISM services index. Then to cap off the week, Friday will deliver the all-important non-farm payrolls report along with the unemployment rate. Each of these data points has the potential to stir investor emotions, which in turn could affect Lucid's share price indirectly. Thursday is another one to watch. The U.S. will release data on imports and exports, and on the political front, trade policy may dominate the headlines. Former President Donald Trump is once again making noise about increasing tariffs, particularly doubling tariffs on steel from 25% to 50%. While this might not have a direct impact on Lucid's bottom line, any instability or fear of retaliation in global trade could weigh on sentiment, especially in sectors like EVs, which rely on global supply chains. Now, zooming in on Lucid Motors specifically, there's a lot happening on the corporate side as well. One of the major events to keep an eye on is Lucid's upcoming annual shareholder meeting, scheduled for June 5th. 4 key proposals will be up for discussion and voting. These include the election of directors, the approval of KPMG as the accounting firm, executive compensation plans, and updates to Lucid's stock incentive program. Interestingly, there has been some controversy surrounding the inclusion of KPMG, as concerns were raised in the past about their performance and transparency. So if you're a shareholder and you have strong views on this issue, you'll want to make your voice heard during this meeting. Now, here's something that hasn't received a lot of attention yet, but it's potentially a major development. Peter Rawlinson, the former CEO and a key figure behind Lucid's early growth, is noticeably absent from the list of directors being proposed for re-election. From what we know, he hasn't officially left the company, but he's been reassigned to a somewhat symbolic consulting role until 2027. It seems more like a strategic sidelining than a genuine advisory position, which raises more questions than answers about internal dynamics. Moving forward, there's another potentially impactful event happening just 2 days after the shareholder meeting. Lucid is hosting a studio-wide event on June 7th across its North American locations. Customers and fans are being invited to experience the Lucid Air through scheduled test drives. This initiative could help increase public engagement, bring in new potential buyers, and showcase Lucid's commitment to growth. Although Lucid hasn't made any formal announcements about showcasing the Gravity SUV or other new models during this event, it's reasonable to speculate that there might be surprises in store. Especially since we haven't seen much coverage of this in mainstream media or on their official social channels. It's flying under the radar for now, but could be a sleeper catalyst. Meanwhile, Lucid continues to enjoy strong support in international markets, particularly Saudi Arabia, where the brand aligns with the Vision 2030 initiative. While this kind of exposure won't necessarily push the stock price higher in the short term, it does reinforce long-term confidence and brand legitimacy. Let's talk numbers now. Short interest in Lucid remains incredibly high. At the moment, around 30.86% of the free float. which equals roughly 380.6 million shares, is being shorted. That's an enormous figure and shows a heavy bearish sentiment. Just this past Friday, an additional 1.52 million shares were added to the short side. The average borrowing cost sits around 2.31%, and utilization is pegged at 100%, meaning all available shares for borrowing have essentially been taken up. These are conditions ripe for volatility and possibly a short squeeze if any bullish momentum develops. Another thing worth mentioning is the extremely high trading volume Lucid has seen recently. Over the last 5 trading sessions, the stock has dropped about 14%, and that's come with record volume levels. On Friday alone, 259 million shares changed hands, following 262 million shares the day before. This unusual activity might point to big institutional investors exiting their positions, or it could be that Lucid is issuing new shares under an active shelf registrations 3 they filed back in 2023. That shelf filing gives Lucid the legal authority to sell additional shares at any time within a 3-year window without needing to alert the public each time they do so. While that's legally compliant, it also opens the door for dilution without warning, which, understandably, spooks investors. Now, let's take a quick look at the options market. On the bullish side, there's expectation for Lucid's price to hover around $2.50 this week. The bears, however, are aiming much lower, possibly under $2. Currently, about 5K open call contracts sit at the $2.50 strike and nearly 19K at $3. That means if Lucid gains any momentum and approaches the $3 mark, it could trigger short sellers to defend those levels aggressively to avoid losses. As of Friday's close, Lucid ended the day at $2.23. That places it between 2 major technical levels commonly referred to as S2 and S3. The critical support is $2.21, which also marked Friday's low. If the price dips below that early in the week, it could fall further to around $1.73, which would represent a major technical breakdown. That would also take it below the lows seen back in April. However, there's a flip side to this. Every time Lucid has been this oversold in the past, it has bounced back sharply. The stock appears to be in a highly manipulated environment, with huge moves not necessarily linked to fundamental news. Still, behind the scenes, Lucid appears to be pushing ahead. Events like the Lucid Studio drives are a signal that the company hasn't slowed down. We just need clearer communication from Lucid's leadership. From a technical analysis standpoint, Lucid recently fell below its 50-day moving average. Historically, that kind of move often results in a significant swing up to 30% in either direction. That means, in the most extreme case, the stock could dip closer to the $2 mark or even lower. But if positive news emerges, whether from Lucid or a broader market catalyst, it could swing the other way just as fast. Wrapping it all up, this week could be a defining one for Lucid. There's no shortage of macro events, from job reports to trade updates, that could rattle or support the market. There's also significant company-specific news, including the shareholder meeting and a promotional studio event. Add in high short interest, suspicious trading volume, potential dilution, and technical levels being tested, and you've got all the ingredients for major movement in either direction. I believe we may briefly break below that $2.21 support early in the week, but a recovery is likely toward the end, keeping it within the S2-S3 trading band. As always, though, surprises can happen. If Trump announces favorable trade negotiations or China relations improve, we might see Lucid climb above expectations. So let me know, are you buying the dip? Do you see this as a rare opportunity or a red flag? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's discuss. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you in-depth market analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.